Vikings Rant. This is week 9 of the NFL following a Vikings victory against the Browns. Heading into the bye week, this is Nathan Schulte.
I'm Dirk Uppenhauer.
And I'm Isaac Logan.
And we are very excited to be bringing you another exciting edition of Vikings Rant. Dirk, what do we have on tap today?
We are going to be talking about how we beat them Browns in London, including the awfulness of how we played in the first half, but how we picked it up in the second half to get the victory, as well as complaining about referees, nice words with Isaac, the Teddy versus Case quarterback battle, and reaction to the recent NFL trade deadline.
Yes, a lot of shocking things in the NFL this week, and so thus we are super excited to get started by talking about our exhilarating game against the horrible Browns.
Well, Nathan, we were losing to this horrible football team for most of the first half.
All of the first half.
And some of the second half as well. I mean, I was kind of panicking. It was probably the most mad I've gotten at a Vikings game so far this season, and that includes the one where we lost to Detroit.
And Dirk, when he says panicking, he really means panicking. Like, he was freaking out. I was sitting right next to him, and he lost it at least 10 times in the first half.
It was more like once, but yes.
Well, that's debatable.
Does slamming a table mean lost it?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
All right. So, Dirk, we came on to the end, but Case Keenum did not have a great first half, and nor did the Minnesota Vikings. First play for the second week in a row was a pick off of a throw from Keenum, and, well, that was kind of crushing because then on the next drive, Anthony Harris misses a tackle, and Isaiah Crowell pummels into the end zone.
Yes, Isaiah Crowell and his ugly freaking dreadlocks.
Yeah, Isaiah Crowell just made me mad every time I saw him running. I don't know what it is about him.
He was such a disappointment on my fantasy team last year. I wanted that guy to fail.
And he kind of did. I mean, Daniil's strip in the second half.
Yes, Daniil's second half strip started, I'd say, a big momentum change for the Vikings. We got the game-leading field goal on that drive, and then the Browns went down and they shanked a field goal. The Browns later got a field goal that gave them a 1-point lead, but that would be the end of their scoring.
And this game featured another Jerick McKinnon rushing touchdown as well as a Jerick McKinnon 2-point conversion. And Case Keenum threw his 5th touchdown of the season? 6th?
7 touchdowns he has now.
7th touchdown. Wow, who knew?
Yes, so the offense did very well, as we mentioned, in the second half. Jerick McKinnon, 50 yards rushing and 72 yards receiving. And I saw a stat based from a radio host on ESPN 1500 out of the Twin Cities this week that said McKinnon is on pace for 1,000 rushing yards and 80 receptions. Now, he mentioned he probably won't get there because he hasn't played a ton in all 16 games, obviously, because Dalvin Cook was the starting running back. But our running attack is very solid still with Murray and McKinnon after Cook has gone out.
Yes, both Murray and McKinnon are now almost to 300 yards on the season. I know McKinnon is. I think Murray definitely is over 200, maybe close to 220. And so that's very good for us Minnesota Vikings. Hopefully Jerick McKinnon soon will take over as the leading rusher on the team so we no longer have to see Dalvin Cook's face on the preview to every game saying he's our leading rusher and crying.
You cry when you see that?
Yes, because Dalvin Cook is literally so good, and he was ripped from our gross, grimy little hands because of an ACL injury. Because us Vikings cannot have nice things.
Well, you know who had gross, grimy little hands and was not playing like he wanted nice things throughout the first half? Case Keenum. Case Keenum in that first half was awful. He could not connect passes. He only threw slight little checkdowns, and you could not rely on us to convert a third down, even with Stephon Diggs back.
And Stephon Diggs was back, but he was not really completely healthy, I don't think. He did not play every offensive snap. Adam Thielen was clearly our WR1 in this game, which is okay because he is now at, 630 yards for the season?
Yes, I mean, thank goodness for Adam Thielen, one of the top 5 receiving yards leaders in the National Football League.
Actually, I think he's second in the league now after this week.
Third, I'm pretty third.
I think it's second. I'll take a bet on this one.
Definitely third.
You're going to owe me $1, Dirk.
Okay.
If I'm wrong, you look it up right now. You owe me $1.
Okay. Well, anyway, Thielen was bailing out Keenum in that first half, especially with that touchdown he caught in the back of the end zone where he was wide open. He was more wide open than the chances of, I was going to make a joke, but I couldn't think about it.
Well, Dirk, at least you're trying. Yes, the first half was pretty bad, and it wasn't just the offense for once. It was also the defense, which is kind of scary to see, but you know what? The defense can't always be on point, and I'm glad they weren't on point in a game in which we won, because then they can be on point and we could win a game later.
Yes, there was a Thielen's first touchdown was a great touchdown dance, and 5 receptions for 98 yards. He is second in the league.
And Dirk, you now owe me $1. I don't know when I'm going to collect, but believe you me, I will.
But anyway, McKeenum in the second half did improve more besides Thielen. He was still finding him. But Kyle Rudolph got in on the action with that short little touchdown. And
that was very, very impressive. The throw was pretty much just Case Keenum throwing it up there, but the fact that Kyle Rudolph went up there, got it, and got his feet in bounds at the back of the end zone was good.
And David Morgan had a slightly breakout game on that offense as well.
Yeah, 3 catches, and what do you have, almost 50 yards? Very good game for David
3
Morgan.
for 28, so not quite 50, but...
Okay, well, I was close.
that is 50 yards for David Morgan.
Thank the Lord we didn't bet on that one. I almost lost my $1.
Good point. But, we did do well. Our offensive line, we allowed 1 sack, because that was Keenum trying to scramble. But we did pretty well in blocking again for an offensive line that was starting to face more injuries this week, with Searles and Easton out, and Mike Remmers out for pretty much the whole game.
Yeah, Mike Remmers walked away with a concussion. Thank God it's a concussion, though. That's easy to come back from. Just got to rest the old noggin a little bit. Laquan Treadwell also had a big catch at the end of the second half to set us up for a field goal right before we went into halftime.
Yes, and that was based off of the stupidity, which is the Cleveland Browns. They call this timeout, remember, Nathan, with about 50 seconds to go in the game.
On the 1-yard line.
50 seconds to go on the 1-yard line. They punch it in, and they gave the Vikings 47 seconds to drive downfield, and we got that field goal. I mean, I will take it, but if you're the Cleveland Browns, why is Hugh Jackson not been fired yet?
Yeah, here's the thing. I'm all about, give the coach a little while to warm up. But if you look at, Mike Zimmer, what did he do in his second year in Minnesota? Took the team to the playoffs. Yes. And granted, maybe he had more members to work with, but seriously, you're now 0-8 for the second time under this head coach. Something has gone wrong. He's not doing it. And so you need to go look for someone better, because he is not good at his job.
He is not good at his job. You should not be winning one game no matter who your coach is.
And you know what? He has a lot of experience with Mike Zimmer, and I would not be surprised if we find him on the Vikings coaching staff next year.
I do not want Hugh Jackson because all he does is lose.
Well, he's actually had a pretty good winning history beforehand. That's how most head coaches actually get their job.
That is
true,
Nathan.
He's just not good at being a head coach, Dirk.
That is true, Nathan. So let's transition here. We've talked mostly what we can about our offense and how McKinnon is still doing well. Thielen had a great game. Timeout?
Nathan signaling a timeout. I just remembered something you said earlier. The Adam Thielen touchdown dance. I'm kind of confused by that statement because I feel like it was more of a Adam Thielen touchdown slide or a soccer celebration.
I don't really care what it was. It was awesome.
Yes, Adam Thielen, he slid down to the ground and was pumping the air. He said it was a salute to British soccer.
Yes.
He said he's, gaining appreciation for the sport.
That is true. Well, Nathan, we talked about the offense's struggles, transitioning to the defense. Their struggles as well. Everson Griffin might be right when he was talking about those sleep number beds. They might have been staying up too late fixing those sleep number beds, and that's why we came out with a really slow start on both sides of the ball, including the defensive side.
Yeah, Everson Griffin in his interview this week, which I thoroughly encourage anyone to check it out because it was hilarious. This little comment was featured in, the sounds of the games across all of the ESPN channels, and Everson Griffin's talking about how great a sleep number bed was, and it goes up and down and up and down. Very funny, Dirk.
Very, very funny indeed. What was not funny was giving up a 35-yard touchdown to Isaiah Crowell, or a big 50-yard pass to Ricardo Lewis, or giving up a 40-yard pass to Isaiah Crowell again.
That one was especially sad because Isaiah Crowell caught that ball, and then he's just running in no space. He looked kind of like an idiot. I mean, he's just a huge guy, and he was just running with empty field, and no one was around him.
Well, yes, what I noticed is that our defense played very good in the first half. The only exception was when we got burned by those big plays or when we gave the Browns good field position. Also, just because in the second half when we started to dominate, it's because they had to pass, they had to wait longer, they were passing the ball quick at first. Then in the second half, they have to wait a lot longer, and therefore that's when we started getting to Deshaun Kaiser.
And you know what? Xavier Rhodes had a blown coverage. First time all season that he gave up that big a play, I believe.
I honestly thought we were going to lose after that.
Yeah, who was the receiver that caught
Ricardo
that ball?
Lewis.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. I mean, that's the reason that they were able to score on that drive, and you don't see many of those from Xavier, and thank God.
No, you do not. But
Trey Waynes had a good game. No big plays given up by Trey Waynes.
No.
Good tackles.
Harrison Smith as well had a good game.
And Everson Griffin.
Extending his sack streak.
More about that later, hopefully.
I would also say Eric Kendricks tackled very well today.
Yeah, Eric Kendricks, he's having a good season. Both him and Anthony Barr, and Ben Gedeon for that matter, are just playing out of their mind. I mean, those three, we probably have the best linebacker core in the NFL.
I think we're definitely up there.
I think we're the top one.
Okay. Well, let's see. But there was some things. I mean, we did force a couple of nice turnovers. The Browns muffed a punt because it's the Browns. And then Daniil Hunter had a beautiful strip of Isaiah Crowell. But if there is one complaint I have to make about this defense, Nathan, it's that we didn't pick off a guy who had thrown 11 interceptions.
How did we not intercept DeShone Kizer, the most intercepted quarterback in the NFL, and we don't pick him off once? Trey Waynes had one that kind of went in his hands and he just dropped.
We had two that were nearly picked.
This is the second game at least this season where we've been seeing our defense give up a lot of turnovers that they should have had come in and out of their hands.
Yes, very true. And it's honestly, I was expecting a pick from that Kizer was going to throw right away, and we never saw it.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we came out with a large victory, 33-16.
I mean, they made me kind of look like an idiot. I was screaming pick six literally the whole game.
That is you every game.
Happened. No. It was just this game. And, yeah, I looked dumb because it never happened.
Yeah, well, besides that, we did hold Kizer to only a 68.1 quarterback rating. He barely completed half of his passes.
Well, DeShone Kizer is awful, so no matter how poorly you are at picking off the ball, he's still going to be just bad.
Yeah. This has to be, I think, the third straight game where we've held a quarterback under 200 yards passing. Baltimore, Detroit, Green Bay.
Yep.
Chicago. So we've had at least 4.
Did we hold Matthew Stafford under 2?
No, I think he got over 2.
Oh, no wonder we lost.
Yeah, no wonder we lost.
Yes, folks, as long as we hold a quarterback to under 200 yards passing, we are going to win.
Yes, and as long as the referees do not call stupid penalties, we are also going to win.
I didn't think it was that bad this game, Dirk.
Really? Because there were a lot of calls against us.
Some of them were justified. Unlike the suspension of Andrew Sendejo.
Yes, let's talk about that a little bit. Sendejo was suspended for this contest, as we mentioned.
And he's having a great season, so that's kind of upsetting.
For giving a big hit, I mean, I think you could make the argument for it, but then you go out and you don't suspend Kiko Alonso for literally, almost killing Joe Flacco. I don't get the point of that.
Yeah, I think they really screwed the pooch on this one, Dirk, and it's kind of upsetting because Andrew Sendejo, it's great to see him in the game. But you know what I always say? It's okay if we rest him and we still get the win. It's when we don't have him and we get a loss, and it could be because that player was out. That is when we need to start being concerned.
Yes. Well, we did get the win, 33-16, and we leave jolly old London behind now, 6-2 heading into the bye. And with all this great record, this great win, and this great team play, there has to be a lot of nice words.
Yeah, with that being said, I guess it's time for Nice Words with Isaac. And now it's time for Nice Words with Isaac.
Well, we are another week into the NFL season. Another Vikings game, putting us halfway through the year, actually, which is amazing. And also very sad, because we hate when the football season goes away. So let's enjoy these last 8 weeks and additional 4 weeks after that, because, going to be a great year in playoffs. But at the halfway point, we have someone who has done some incredible things all 8 games so far. And so this week, I decided to give my nice words to the man, the myth, the legend, the Everson Griffin. First off, he's probably the coolest guy in the NFL. We got to hand it to him. If you watch any videos of the Vikings, he's always in the back being funny or doing something great. You got to like him. You got to enjoy the dude. And he plays really well. He does some great things on the field. And this week, with the sack in the very late minutes of the fourth quarter, he continues a streak of 8 straight games to start the season with at least 1 sack. He's at 10 on the year, and his 8-game streak puts him in pretty good company in Vikings history. He is now tied with Jared Allen and Jim Marshall for the only players in Vikings history to get a sack in 8 straight games, and has a chance to break that record in 2 weeks against Washington, which I think he can do. But it was a close one this week. He came right to the end. He had no sacks. We were all a little scared, edge of our seats, and then Harrison Smith comes and saves his butt, gets behind the line, hits the quarterback, but says, "You know what, Everson, this one's yours. I'll back off." So he walks away, and Everson goes and finishes the job. So it was an exciting way to get it right at the end, and we hope that his streak continues. So congrats, E. Griffin, on your 8-game sack streak, and we hope that you get 16 straight games with a sack this season.
Yeah, I know. Dirk and I were very, very nervous at the end of that game. I in particular was like, oh my God, I don't even care what happens. Everson Griffin needs to get this sack. And he brought it right down the wire, but he did indeed get that sack, and he keeps that streak a-rolling.
And you got to respect that, a guy who just keeps pushing through, because we were going to win at that point. It was kind of settled. And yet he kept fighting, kept pushing, and got that sack. And I respect that. He's a hard worker every week. Every play.
And it's very impressive. It's very hard to get sacks in the NFL. Somehow, though, he's not the NFL leader in sacks.
No,
after 8 straight games.
DeMarcus Lawrence is still leading with 10.5.
He's got to stop
because the Jaguars just get sacks like they eat breakfast.
DeMarcus Lawrence is on the Cowboys.
Okay, I apologize. That's bad of me. But also, there's a guy on the Jaguars who has a lot of sacks as well.
Calais Campbell is tied with Everson Griffin for 10 sacks.
But don't you worry.
Everson
Griffin will pull away soon. I think there's a good chance that he breaks the NFL's sack record set by Michael Strahan in 2001.
He would need a really good second half to do that.
About 12 more in 8 games.
13 more sacks, and he'd break it. So let's see. That's like we have 8 games left. He can have
I think Griffin finishes.
He can have 5 games with 2 sacks and 3 games with 1 sack, or he can have 1 game with 5 sacks.
The only way he gets it is if he has 2 crazy games, like 2 4-sack games.
Which I think there's a very good possibility. If you look at who we have to face, we still get to face the decimated Green Bay Packers again later in the season.
Yep.
We get to face the Redskins, whose line is struggling right now.
Yep.
Who else do we get to face? I mean...
the Lions' offensive line is not looking great.
The Lions are just looking bad in general.
Especially against us, they did not look great. I would say... Carolina and Atlanta, I don't think will be... Carolina, Atlanta, and Los Angeles, one of those games might be where the sack streak ends. Cincinnati's O-line isn't as good this year.
Cincinnati just looks bad in general.
He's owned the Bears for a sack.
Yep, I could see it. I could easily see him breaking that record this season, and boy, would he be excited.
I think
a member of the
17th.
Vikings, breaking a record. Never has that happened before.
Sam Bradford last year, actually.
Oh yes, you're right.
Big record, yeah. Very
big record. We almost forget about Sam Bradford because he is meaningless. But 6-2 going into the bye, that's very, very big, Dirk.
I would say I think we can all say we like where we're sitting right now. 6-2, top of the division at the bye week. I would say a few weeks ago after Sam Bradford went down, we watched the Pittsburgh game, we were like, oh gosh, here we go. We're falling downhill. Give us Sam back. But no, we have rode the ship with Case Keenum to 6-2.
Yeah, Case Keenum is now 5-2 as the end of game starter.
And it should be 7-1, but the refs decided to not give us the Detroit game.
The Detroit game was just kind of weird because we had those fumbles and Dalvin Cook went down, and our game plan at that point still kind of revolved around Dalvin Cook. And so things just got weird because that drive where Dalvin Cook fumbled and got hurt, we were rolling. We were rolling to go score. And so that game, when looking back, and it was just a big all-around just L.
But anyway, looking at the middle of the season for us, here's where we are stats-wise. We are 3rd in total defense. We are giving up 282 points a game, which includes being 4th in rushing yards per game. We are only allowing 81 rushing yards. That's pretty good. Total offense-wise, we were tops at the beginning of the season. We've fallen down some. We're now 13th in the league.
And, you know, our offense is, without a doubt, playing much better this year. But they still leave a lot to be desired. Case Keenum every week leaves yards out on the field with missed throws, and he misses guys that are wide open. And it's kind of upset because with each guy that's been left wide open, in the film, the opposite teams will be able to see those guys wide open. Case Keenum blatantly missed them, but now they're going to be able to pick up those guys in the future.
Yes. Yes, I get what you're saying there, Nathan. Keenum has a 64% completion rating, 1,610 yards, 7 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. I mean, I thought he'd start looking better because Diggs was back next week. And while Diggs didn't look great, 4 catches for 27 yards. Let's see what happens after the bye, because the bye week should allow Diggs to get even more healthier and back up to that production level he was at before his injury. But the biggest question of our bye week is not, one, how we come out of it, because last year we came out of it like we were dog shit. This year, who's going to be our starting quarterback out of the bye week?
Our starting quarterback? Geez, that's a tough question. So the Vikings have to, I think, officially name Teddy Bridgewater to off the PUP next Wednesday, right?
Last I checked, they appear to be ready to do that.
They appear to be ready to get him off the PUP. So that in terms of that, we are looking good, but it's just hard to say at this point because, for one, you have Case Keenum, who has been the starter in games that we have won. I don't know that I could go so far as to say that he has won the games. He's made the throws that he needs to make in order for us to win games, but I don't know that he has won the games. He's been able to extend plays with his feet pretty well, and assuming that Teddy Bridgewater is mobile when he gets back, which I think he will be, because generally when you're coming back from these type of injuries, if your team deems you ready to be on the field, your knee is pretty much fully recovered. So you're basically the man that you were.
Well, I'd argue Bridgewater's a little more bulkier now. I don't know if he'll be able to be as mobile, and I still don't know mentally if he's going to be there to take risks and run down the field. Was worried about the same time what happened to that knee.
With non-contact injuries, his injury didn't come from something that would now give him a fear, I feel. So,
but like I said in the last few weeks, how I'm not as big on a T Bridgewater train as you are, although I think maybe we should put him in. I'm going to put that out there. I have to say he's going to be worried. You can't say he's not going to be. When you have that bad of an injury, you can't be confident that when you see someone barreling at your knee, that you're not going to think in the back of your head, wow, it would really suck if I get hit right now.
And that might be something that's in the back of the mind, but really what we have to look at is we don't know Teddy Bridgewater. We don't know what goes on in his mind. And so that's it. If there's a mental barrier, that's what he has to overcome. Right now, what we know is Teddy Bridgewater has the most upside for this season, and he has the most upside for our future.
I would say,
as our potential franchise quarterback still.
As the result of this quarterback battle, I would say if Keenum ends up starting over Bridgewater, unless you totally hate Keenum, it's a good sign because you realize that Keenum is still good enough that he is the best quarterback in Mike Zimmer's mind. But you also realize if Zimmer picks Teddy, Zimmer isn't the type of guy who's going to give in to the fans who mostly want Teddy. Zimmer's the type of guy who pretty much says, I'm going to do what I want, and you're going to appreciate it when I do it. So if he does pick Teddy, it's because Zimmer thinks Teddy is the better quarterback, and that is a good sign if he is putting Teddy in over a guy who has gone 5-2 as a starter.
Yes, Teddy Bridgewater, I think he's going to come back certainly better than he looked in his second year because he's had many more years of film study. He understands the game better. He certainly knows how the NFL goes now. So when he comes back, he will be ready to go mentally for sure. And I think his arm is stronger now, so he'll be able to throw passes more accurately. And just in general, I think he will be a better all-around player when he comes back.
I'm excited for his movement out of the pocket. I think we get a little with Case Keenum, but Teddy Bridgewater does have that exciting kind of burst of energy every once in a while.
Yeah, and I'm certain that when he comes back, we will have something that's better than what Case Keenum can do.
But let's just see, either way, a decision will be made, and there are ways that could not work out. So let's say we choose Case Keenum, and then Case Keenum plays poorly. What is the implication of that versus if we choose Teddy Bridgewater right away and he plays poorly? I think I'd rather Case Keenum play poorly for a little bit after the bye, then Teddy Bridgewater come back and then have bad few weeks. Because it can still be a positive to bring Bridgewater back a little later while he's been practicing more and have more experience.
At this point, I'm not so concerned that he's ready to go. I think that if he starts, he's going to be ready to go. And here's my thing with Case Keenum. Obviously, he's still throwing touchdowns. He's got 7 touchdowns this season. He's been throwing yards. He's been getting us in a good spot. But I feel like he has at least one quarter a game where he's just leaving a lot out on the field.
Typically in the first quarters.
Yes, and so far, that has not added up to a loss yet, with the exception of maybe the Detroit game and maybe the Steelers game. But how long until that is a loss? How long until all his misplays turn into we can't get the ball ever going, and it is a loss? That's what makes me nervous at this point if we continue to go with Case Keenum.
Well, that's a key stretch coming up. You're at Washington. You host one of the best teams in the NFC besides yourself.
Debatably one of the best teams in the NFC.
They're 5-2, buddy.
What we've seen this far, we don't really know because their offense
The Rams.
is still
We're talking
not.
about the Rams, everybody.
Yeah, the Rams. Their offense is still not completely consistent, and so we just don't know what to expect. They still got a new coach. I think it's kind of like what the Eagles did last year when they went 3-0, but I think they're going to be on the downward path through the latter part of the season.
Could see that. And then we have 3 straight road games at Atlanta, at Carolina, and at Detroit. And while Detroit and Atlanta are definitely underperforming this season, we can't count them out as easy wins. So I think what I'm trying to say here is the quarterback situation always matters, but it's going to matter more as we enter the toughest stretch of our season.
Yes, this is going to be a tough stretch, but I think we could still come out on top of the NFC North. Let's take a look at injuries going into this bye week to see who we think we could get back. As of this point, we have Mike Remmers out with a concussion. Stephen Weatherly, a defensive end who does not play much, is out.
We don't need to talk about him.
Jeremiah Searles is out with that knee injury, and we have not really gotten any update from him. It might be bad. We're not quite sure. Nick Easton still out with that knee injury, and of course, quarterback Sam Bradford out with a knee injury as well. Dirk, what do you think? Who can we get back to the bye? This has come at a good time when our offensive line is debatably pretty beat up. So,
well, this did definitely come at a good time for us. As the Minneapolis Star-Tribune wrote this week, for the Vikings offensive line, the bye week couldn't come soon enough, which was the headline. And I think that's the best way to put it. Reef has been battling some injuries in his knee. I think he can get healthier. You should get Easton back for that Redskins game.
Easton we thought was going to be back for this Browns game, but they decided to rest him another week. So I think we should get him back for sure.
You should get Easton. I haven't heard how bad Mike Remmers' concussion is.
But you have to figure a 2-week period usually is plenty of time to come back from a concussion.
My guess. If Joe Flacco is able to play this week, which one of my other friends notified me, he did clear concussion protocol, and he is cleared to play this week after taking that hit. I think Mike Remmers should be able to play after 2 weeks.
And Mike Remmers, big head, big beard, big noggin.
Yes,
so
everything is big.
That should benefit him as well. Jeremiah Searles, if Nick Easton's back, who gives a crap? Because he is our backup.
And Danny Isidora played very well the past 2 games.
Very admirably, and Rashad Hill has shown us that he is as good as we thought he was. So I say we trade Mike Remmers, or we could trade. I'm drawing a blank. What's his name? Left tackle.
Riley Reef.
Well, we could
Nathan,
trade him as well.
We can't trade anymore because this episode has been recorded after the trade deadline.
That is correct. A lot of big trades in the NFL. Some trades to be happy about, some trades. I mean, Kelvin Benjamin went to the Bills. That was kind of interesting because Cam Newton is very reliant upon Kelvin Benjamin. But to be fair, he's never really quite performed up to the hype that they thought when they drafted him.
Well, let's all give our take on this, because Nathan thinks this was a good trade by the Carolina Panthers to get rid of Kelvin Benjamin, because Nathan thinks Kelvin Benjamin is bad. I think this is a great trade for the Buffalo Bills. Your top wide receiver for the Buffalo Bills has not had over 300 yards receiving on the football season. That receiver is Charles Clay, with 258 as their leading receiver right now. That's a tight end also, by the way. You don't have much at receiver. You're a team that is 5-2, has a great defense, with Micah Hyde and Kyle Williams and Jerry Hughes. You have a great running back in LaShawn McCoy, a solid quarterback in Tyrod Taylor, and now you're giving Taylor extra help with the 6'5 Benjamin, and you're getting a guy who has so far caught about 450 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns on the season. He might not make the Pro Bowl, but he's another big weapon that can help make your offense better and possibly make a playoff run from a wild card position, assuming it'll be New England. Isaac, I think this is good for them. Nathan thinks this is a bad trade for the Bills. What would be your fast take on this?
I think it's a bit of a wash. I think it can go both ways because he has had a little history of an injured left knee. I think one of his knees isn't super healthy, and he's coming at near the end of his rookie contract. It might be in the last year, and so for long term on the Panthers side, they may not have a lot of trust in him. So I see from their point of view that maybe we should just move on and get that extra pick. But for the Bills, it's a good option right now to have someone who performs well, especially when they're doing pretty all right. So I look at it as like a sort of what we thought the Bradford trade was last year. Good for both teams, but then Bradford just sat down and got hurt.
Yes, and the Panthers do have another big wide receiver on their roster. Another big trade. Another big trade this week. Jay Ajayi to the Eagles. Kind of interesting because he did make the Pro Bowl this year, and he's on his 3rd year in the NFL, right? So that's kind of a shocking one there. I don't really understand what either team is gaining from that.
I don't get what the Eagles gain from it because Ajayi doesn't have a touchdown this year. He's got 465 yards rushing, which is basically the same stats that Garrett Blount gave you, and he gives you the same style of runners as Garrett Blount.
Yeah, and now the Dolphins are without a rusher, so that deal just makes no sense. Apparently, the Cleveland Browns tried to make a deal with the Bengals for their backup, A.J. McCarron, and because of some botched paperwork and late deadlines, that fell through.
Yeah.
Really, probably thankfully for the Browns because McCarron wasn't going to be good, and that was just going to be a waste of good picks. I mean, so that was stupid, and they should have countered that Jimmy Garoppolo trade because Garoppolo was someone that they targeted in the offseason and failed to get. I mean, if you're Garoppolo and you're getting asked to come there, I mean, you would try anything to not go to the Browns because you're going to have a terrible career.
He went to the second worst team he could go to.
And you know what? You know why I'm upset about this? Because my man, C.J. Beathard's down there working hard on a bad team, and now he's just going to say it was all his fault if Jimmy Garoppolo comes in and plays well, when it was not his fault. It's a bad team. He's a rookie. He got thrown in there after Brian Hoyer played as bad as they thought he was going to play. And just upsetting because you're robbing C.J. Beathard of a future.
And why are you passionate about C.J. Beathard?
Because he was from Iowa. No, I'm just saying he's a good
player.
Very
biased.
It's not because he was from Iowa.
Jimmy Garoppolo will play better, and that I like it for the 49ers.
Yeah, I'm just going to say this. I am mad at these Jay Ajayi trades and Kelvin Benjamin trades for one reason. They are both on my fantasy football teams.
Well,
and Jay Ajayi was my second back. He was getting me about 6 points a week with about 60 yards rushing, and now he's going to give me like 2 because he has to split carries with the Garrett Blount and Kenyon Barner and all those other running backs. And Kelvin Benjamin was giving me a good 8 points a week. Now he won't play for the next 2 weeks for the Bills, and I don't even know if he's going to fit in the system.
You, my friend, should have picked up Jerick McKinnon after Dalvin Cook went down just like I did, and now I get 20 points a week, so you can suck it. All right, so obviously, we're going into the bye week, a good week to get rested up. Big decisions to come, and I'm quite certain that in our next podcast, we will have big news to talk about right here about our quarterback situation.
Yes, and because looking ahead to this week, it's a bye week, we just get to sit back and watch some football that isn't called the Vikings for once. I, for one, am excited to see Brock Osweiler return as a starting quarterback for the Denver Broncos.
Yes, that should be very exciting for the Denver Broncos. As we know, we can always count on big games for Brock Osweiler.
I love when Brock plays football because you're always sitting there with the expectation this kid could finally become something, and then he throws 3 picks and you realize you're just watching him go off the rails.
Big game for the NFC North this week. Lions take on the Packers. Dirk, who do you think will win? We don't need a score. We just need
Lions.
Lions. And are you saying that because you want them to win because it'll be better for us?
Well, no. I am saying that because I actually think that offense looked like it was back to normal last Sunday against Pittsburgh, besides when it got inside the 10-yard line. It was awful inside the 10-yard line.
Personally, I think and hope that the Lions will win this week, not just because then we'll have 2 teams in our division with 4-4 record, but also because that just puts more distance between us and Green Bay. And I just don't want Green Bay to go to the playoffs this year.
Especially if Rodgers comes back at the end of the year.
I am not about to be ready for that storyline.
I want that separation. Same time, I also am loving the slow decline of the Green Bay Packers this season.
To be honest, I think the Packers take it this week.
Oh, fuck.
And I'm sorry to say that, but here's why I'm not as mad. Let me just talk here. I think the Packers have a decent game, and they pull out a win against the Lions. Not a big win, not a super exciting win, but they pull out a win. And then all the analysts in the NFL are going to jump back onto the Green Bay bandwagon because Hundley's going to play well enough that they're like, oh, they can get back to Aaron Rodgers. And then the Vikings can ride under the starlight for a few more weeks, which I think is really good for our team. Because we still have an opportunity to beat them at Green Bay near the end of the year, which I think we can do. I think we're in very good position, but I'm okay if the Packers get this week and we aren't the talk of the town for a little more time, because I think that's really good for us, because last year we were the talk of the NFL after week 5, and we clearly did not handle that well.
I don't think we're even close to being the talk of the NFL. We don't get talked about on sports.
We are still very, very low under the radar. Maybe a few more weeks and
that
we
is
will be
true,
flying
but
high.
we are not lower than 8 in any power rankings.
Yes,
which is a good spot to be in.
We will stay low in the news as long as Carson Wentz continues to be the leading candidate for MVP.
And also as long as Case Keenum is our starter. Once Teddy Bridgewater comes back and if he starts playing well, I anticipate we will get a lot more buzz. All right, after the bye, we have at Redskins, and then we have the Rams here at home, then at the Lions, then at the Falcons, at the Panthers. Then finally we come back home against the Bengals. Then we go to the Packers once again, hopefully an Aaron Rodgers-less Packers. And then we bring the Bears here at home for what hopefully is a meaningful game and not a game like last year where we're fighting to have a medium record.
So obviously, to close out this podcast, we obviously don't have a game this week. But from right now, looking ahead of the rest of the year's schedule, as Nathan just mentioned, what are our predictions for our final season record?
Yes, Dirk, you totally jumped what I was about to say on that one. Bold predictions this week. Record for the end of the season. And where we'll be in the playoffs. Isaac, why don't you start?
Oh, I would love to. I think the Vikings end the year. Right now we're 6-2.
Yep.
Again, reminder. I think we get 4 wins. Oh, wait. Hold up. I gotta think this through. I don't want to get wrong because I really, for my ego, I need to win this prediction here. I'm gonna say
this is apparently an actual bet
for
now.
your ego.
I am gonna say the Vikings pull off in our road schedule for the rest of the year. Out of the 5 wins, we're gonna get, I think, 3 of those wins.
3 out of the 5 roads.
3 out of the 5. Okay. And I think in our 3 home games, we get 2 for a final record of 11-5 on the year. And we're going to go into the playoffs with the 3rd seed, so we don't get that bye, but we do get a home game right away. I think we're going to get some wins.
So, Isaac, you have us losing at home. We have the Bengals, the Bears, and the Rams at home. I assume you're having us lose against the Rams?
I do think the Rams will pull it off, but more because I think at that time that our quarterback uncertainty is going to be at the top. You know, it's a couple weeks in out of that bye. And I think that confusion is going to, in some transition, we might have a slip up, but then they'll play better the rest of the year.
I think this is hard because I'm nervous about coming out of the bye. Because after last year, how can you not be nervous about coming out of the bye?
But we have to assume that Mike Zimmer has learned something from that.
But we have to assume the team, as we've mentioned at times in this show, quarterback is not the most important position on this football team. And we are a healthier football team. Last year we had, an offensive line with 1 starter, and the talk of the league was, how long can they continue to do this? And they clearly found out.
And the answer was, not very long at all.
And this year, though, our offensive line is going to come on the break, fully healthy, or pretty close to fully healthy. The rest of our offense, besides our running back position, is healthy. Our entire defense is healthy. We are a healthier team. They're a smarter team, a more hungry team. They understand this year that they have to go hard in the bye week. I think we come out of the bye fine. Out of our final 5 road games, I have us winning 3.
Just like Isaac.
And I have us winning the rest of our home games.
So 6-2 after the bye.
So we are going to go 12-4 and get the number 2 seed in the NFC.
To who is number 1?
Philadelphia.
You think Philadelphia is going to pull
Philadelphia has no signs of slowing down. Philadelphia is not slowing down. Wentz, baby!
All
Not
right.
slowing
I am
down.
not on that train.
Carson
I
Wentz.
cannot ever get on the Carson Wentz trade because they totally screwed us by giving
Carson
us
Wentz is going to take the Eagles to the 1 seed in the NFC and then face our Vikings, and you know, based on the bias I have, how I think that's going to go.
All right. Well, Dirk
Vikings
has lost
win,
it.
by the way. Vikings win, by the way.
Okay, and we go to the Super
Vikings
Bowl.
win, by the way, and we go to the Super Bowl.
All right.
Okay.
Well, Dirk has lost it. Okay, so just like Dirk and like Isaac, I also have us going 6-2 in the back half of the season for a record of 12-4.
To clarify, I don't have 6-2.
Oh, sorry. I like Dirk,
I have
and like
5-3.
I meant like Isaac. I had 3-5 on the road, but I also think that we will get all 3 home games. So that is a total record of 12-4. But I think we'll get the number 1 seed. I think Philadelphia will screw the pooch here. They are in a tough division, and I think the Giants will come back and win one. I think the Cowboys will probably win both of them, though Ezekiel Elliott is now suspended officially.
Yes.
So.
Thank goodness that finally happened. Anyway, Isaac, who do you have as the 2 teams ahead of us?
Here's what I have, Dirk. I think Philadelphia gets 2. I reckon really strongly, but I just don't think I don't see Philadelphia as a team
So now-
that can stay to the end
Where
of the
my
year.
confusion comes from is who's number 1.
Who's number 1?
Are you going to say the Rams?
I'm not going to say the Rams.
You're going to say the
I
Seahawks?
think the Seahawks are going to pull it through.
That makes no
Because
sense.
Russell Wilson's playing really strong right now.
He does
And
have a left
they're
tackle
just a
now.
perennial. They're like the Patriots here the last 2 years in the NFC. And I think that this year they pull it together again. And I think they come out and they take that.
Well, at least
That
you
was
did
one-
not say the Green Bay Packers.
That was one of the more underrated trades. They did trade for Texans left tackle Juwan Brown as a Pro
yes.
Bowler. That is they finally have a Pro Bowl lineman there again. Let's see how much that
But
helps Wilson.
as many people have said, the rest of their line is also crap, so we'll see.
Yeah. Too bad Everson's going to have to try now to get sacks if we meet them in the playoffs.
Hopefully we do not, as we have a poor history with them in the playoffs. All right,
Screw you, Blair Walsh!
Yeah, that's all this week for Vikings Rant. We thank you again for listening. Please tune in next week for a very exciting preview of the Redskins and hopefully big news at quarterback. Thank you for listening. I'm Nathan Schulte.
I'm Dirk Ummenhauer, who will also be giving my final take on the World Series next week.
All right.
Have a great week, everyone. Goodbye, Isaac Logeman.
All right. See you next time.